What's the most always sunny thing that you've ever done? My sister put liquor in cleaned out shampoo bottles for spring break. Apparently cruise ships don't check that. Thanks again Sweet D and Dennis. They sell bottles designed specifically for this on eBay, complete with safety seals. In high school, a friend of mine put a bandage around her ankle and took her dead grandma's wheelchair, mainly so she could take the elevator at school. She designated me as her helper buddy so I could get out of classes to walk her around. This worked really well until her parents got a call from the school asking when she'd heal so the pay teacher could reschedule her assignments. Her parents were hippies so they assumed she took the wheelchair to experience grandma one more time. It worked out, though, because she got to miss more school. But it didn't work that well. She had to get Reiki healing and talk to a guy who used puppets to roleplay grief. Whoa, every part just gets better and better. This reminds me of home movies. Once went to a party with some friends. The party wound up being at an empty home some squatters were staying in. Anyway, this shindig consisted of a bonfire, crappy punk music, some beer and a couple of dogs standing around the bonfire. I'm awkwardly sipping a beer when I notice one of the fellow revelers whip out a rag. He douses it in gasoline, presumably to keep the fire going. Wrong. Instead, he takes it up to his nose and inhales deeply. He passes the rag to the next guy, and he follows suit. Pretty soon almost everyone is off their asses huffing fumes. As you may have guessed, a fight breaks out. The brawl concluded when one of the aforementioned dogs began to hump a fighter. TLDR. I think I went to a rickety cricket party. Some friends and I decided to play Chuddy McDennis while we were snowed in during the recent storm in DC. We had the 3 phases: mind, body, and spirit, a dog crate, and of course, cheating was encouraged. The last round of the body phase was a one-on-one race to a store 2 blocks away to buy a 6-pack. In 20 inches of snow, the guy on the other team got to the counter first with his beer, but when he went to pay he realized he had no cash or cards in his wallet. We had covertly taken all of the money out of their team's wallets during the first phase of the game. Dang, that's such a Dennis thing to do. When we were 6 or 7, my friends and I started an airplane selling business. We would make paper airplanes, then go door to door to try and sell them. A week in, we had maybe 1 sale. Outside of our parents, we had an executive meeting to try and increase business. One of my friends suggested we start telling people we were selling them for charity. Now, none of us knew what that word meant or what a charity was, but we all had heard of the word and decided to go with it. We started going door to door giving the airplanes away for free and saying we were taking donations for charity and that there would be a paper airplane contest at some field a week later. We sold dozens and dozens of airplanes and we never knew what came of the charity airplane contest we had arranged, because none of us went. At the time it just seemed like a fun thing to do to make some nickels and dimes for candy, but years later I realized that me and the gang started a fraud charity scam. It would have been really funny if people showed up really confused to the same field and ended up playing anyways. Ever since the episode aired, whenever I see an acquaintance unexpectedly in public, when I go over to say hello I think of it as paying tribute. Every time I cook for my girlfriend, I'll ask, "So what do you think?" and every now and then she'll say it's good, to which I slyly reply, "You're the one that's good." Seems like a good opportunity to engage her physically. When I went to see Deadpool I went to Olive Garden the night before and didn't want all my pasta to go to waste. I put it all in a bag and ate it during the movie. I live in an absolute shithole apartment with my friend and people often reference how we're like Charlie and Frank. We've had a big mouse rat problem and I've been catching a lot of them. Ended up catching one that didn't quite die, and had no other way of putting it out of its misery than to drown it. Charlie Kelly saying I tend to drown them more nowadays so I don't have to hear their screams was the only thing going through my mind. I also have a group of friends who are pretty much legitimate alcoholics and I'm quite worried that we've subconsciously modeled our lives on the show. It's either that or we're all just horrible people with substance abuse problems. Either option is bad. While highly intoxicated, I stole a tray of shots off of a crowded bar. Fearing I would get caught, I slammed all 5 of them by myself. Bad move. The bar is too crowded for me to move to the bathroom in time to throw up. So I did the logical thing. I grabbed a purse off of an unoccupied table and threw up inside. Before placing the puke purse back on the table, I promptly found my friends and told them we had to leave right now. OHH, that's fricked up. I'd be so disgusted if I found my purse full of some stranger's vomit. I would probably just throw the whole thing away and get new stuff. Bought handicapped tickets to a show because regular tickets were sold out. Rented wheelchairs and sat in the handicapped spots. Had the ushers bring us beers so we didn't always have to wheel up to the bar. The show, The Nightman Cometh, when they were touring. Whenever I stray from my diet and gain 10 pounds over a weekend, I tell myself I didn't get fatter, I just cultivated mass. Stop cultivating, it's time to harvest. About 6 years back a friend and I wanted to go to Coachella and couldn't get tickets, so we decided to go down and try to sneak in somehow. Then I thought maybe it would be a better idea if we sold waters outside the venue and made a buck while we're at it. I took 2 giant coolers, loaded them up with dry ice and one with ice. We made shirts and spray painted the logo on our chest with water $2 underneath the Coachella logo. We took walkie-talkies that didn't work but looked official and set off. On the first Friday night we each made $800 outside the venue selling waters. The next morning went to Costco and loaded up for another fun-filled day of selling waters. We didn't do much until about sundown Saturday when we started to sell like crazy. I had a stash of rubber bands in my car and we put them around our wrist to keep track of cash and stash money when we had too much. We decided to try and sneak in. We first grabbed a few cases and made our way to the front entrance. On our way in, the ticket lady said you guys need to go into the security entrance. So we walked around and on our way in no one was there. We walked right into the security entrance. Being that we had not eaten all day, we were approached by someone who said there is dinner if you guys want some. We gladly sat down and ate dinner with security like it was no big deal. We finished our free meal and started walking into the venue. The head of security was in a golf cart and started to come our way. One guard yelled, "Hey, where are your wristbands?" We both looked at each other like, oh no, we're busted. The other guard said, "Look dummy, they are wearing them, you are just blind." We showed our wrist and all we had were rubber bands, so they gave us the all clear. While inside we sold both cases of water and enjoyed a free show, all the while going back to certain stands and telling people that we needed to take waters to another booth but we would take them and sell them in the crowd. All in all we walked away with $1,600 each and a great time. It was something I never thought was possible but we did it. Memory of a lifetime. TLDR. We had a bright idea to go to Coachella and sell waters, got a free show 2 nights and got paid. A girl I was interested in told me how her ex put her nudes online. I tried a roundabout way to get her to tell me which site. She wouldn't. My neighbor's 2 kids leave their freaking toys all over the sidewalk even when they are not playing outside. When they go inside, I take their toys and do obnoxious things with them so that the kids get in trouble and their parents don't let them play out in front. I'll place their bikes all over their neighbors' walkways, take their chalk and draw dongs on their neighbors' driveways, etc. They keep the toys inside and off the sidewalk now. I've heard the kids getting yelled at a couple of times. I smirk as I hear them cry and blame each other while getting yelled at. This is like Dennis level. A while ago a bunch of friends and I were on our way back from some carnival we heard about. Was awful by the way. There were about 6 of us driving around and we were all pretty good friends with the exception of Jacob. He was the Eric Cartman of our group. No one really knew why we hung out with him, but we did. Well, we were about an hour drive away from home and decided to stop at a McDonald's for lunch. We were all off about the carnival being a bust and a waste of time and money. Jacob started his crap. Ugh, why'd I let you guys drag me into this? Looking back he was probably just kidding but we were just so tired of him. So Jacob goes into the bathroom and that's when we hatch an idea. Let's leave him there. We debated for about 2 minutes before the Michael, the driver of our group and owner of the car, says, "Well, I'm leaving, if you're coming let's go." We all get up to leave but before we do we go to one of the employees and ask them to tell Jacob you're out of the gang. Inspired by an episode of It's Always Sunny, when he returned from the bathroom, he never tried to hang out with us again. I think this is the best one because it's such a horrible thing to do to someone. Everything else here is just some random, harmless thing the gang has done, but this is actually cruel. My husband and I were walking home a little drunk and found a mop sticking out of someone's rubbish. We took it home raving about how amazing. What a great mop. Why would someone throw that away? It's still good. The next day we argued about who should mop. No, you wanted it. You mop the floor. No, you were the one who took it. You mop the floor. There are two reasons to ever throw out a mop. Either it's worn out and doesn't do its job anymore, or you've cleaned something so disgusting that you'll never be able to look at it or anything you've cleaned with it afterwards. While I was in high school, my friend and I went out to a bonfire out by the lake. Anyways, the night was just a drunken blur until we woke up hungover and hungry. We step outside to get our chairs and stuff and look into the back of his pickup. There is a Native American sleeping in the bed. Like, I mean, full on headdress, painted face, wearing leather. And neither of us remember him from the night before. So we carefully pick him up, set up a lawn chair and set him in the chair, trying to ditch him. As we start the truck up, he wakes up. He asks us to take him home, so we said sure. We had to drive 40 miles to the closest Indian reservation and dropped him off. So how did he get there? Me and my 3 friends took a fare over Mount Acid before going to a Patriots game at Gillette. None of us could concentrate on the game well and kept getting split up. All 4 of us were laughing way too hard the entire time about the idea of football and countless other stupid crap. We all pretty much got 8 packs from laughing the entire time. When I was a kid and entered junior high, I had this girl sit beside me for about the first month. She sadly died when a car hit her while on her bike. School said if we attend funeral we miss school. Grade 7 me would do anything to get out of school. So I went to a funeral PF a girl I barely knew to get out of class. I regretted that decision as I viewed her lifeless body. Give people nicknames instead of learning their real names. Instead of the waitress, we had Whiskey Dong, Jugs, and Tennis W, among others. In my early 20s, a bunch of us would get super drunk and go back to watch our high school basketball games, which nobody other than students and parents ever attended. We would be so disruptive that the already high-strung coach would start yelling at us, telling his players to ignore our advice. We even started following the team to all their away games. Almost started a few riots. It was great fun. In hindsight, I can't believe they would even let us in. We must have reeked of booze. Me and 2 buddies set up kiddie pools in front of our house and drank beer for hours, tossing the cans in the yard. We did this pretty much every day for 2 weeks. Each morning we would come out and the cans would be gone. After about 5 days there was a knock on the door in the morning and it was a dude with a trash can. He was picking up our cans and asked if we would mind putting them in the trash can to make it easier for him. I told him that if he wanted those cans, he was going to have to work for them. We did attempt to at least throw the cans in a pile from then on. A few weeks after I had moved to my apartment, I was out with a bunch of co-workers drinking. At the end of the night I took a cab home, but because I was so drunk and recently moved, I gave the cab driver the wrong address. I didn't realize this until I tried to enter a building that looked like mine and my key wouldn't work. I went outside and looked around and finally figured out I was not on my block. I got the street name right, so I decided to walk and hopefully end at my place soon. It was winter and there was snow everywhere, and as I was walking, I slipped and re-broke the frames of my glasses, which were being held together by glue. I also banged my knee on the sidewalk, so I was walking with a limp. After a bit, a cop car rolls up and shines its light on me as I'm limping my way across the sidewalk. They get out of the car and ask me if I'm okay. I tell them, "Officers, I'm really drunk and I just want to go home. Can you please take me home?" They look at each other, then back at me, and one of them says, "Yeah, I've been there before. Just give me your ID so I can run you through the system." So they run me and I clear, and they tell me to get in the back of the cop car and ask my address. This time I remembered, because getting stopped by the cops sobered me up a bit. As we're getting closer, I tell them it's a bit hard to get to my apartment because of all the one-way streets. The one driving looks back and says, "Who do you think you're with?" Then turns on the lights and goes the wrong way down a one-way street, getting to my apartment faster. I start laughing and say, "Wow, you guys are awesome." The whole experience was weird, being drunk and getting a ride home from the cops, but it was awesome. I could totally see this being a scene from It's Always Sunny with Charlie. More like McLovin in Superbad. Developed a system for picking up women using my own name as an acronym. D. Decide on target. O. Open a dialogue. M. Make her interests yours. I. Instigate playful banter. N. Negatively comment on one of her aspects. I. Initiate sexual interest. C. Close the deal. K. Kick her out. When taking public transit to bars and universities, I would often go buy a big gulp cup, empty it, and fill it with beer. This way I could not only continue to pre-game cheaply and somewhat legally, but it also enabled me to use violent hand gestures as the beer started to course through my veins. This is less a Sunny thing and more a everyone who is underage drinking thing where I live. I was with a group of friends and we're talking about the newly released Gone Girl. I mention offhandedly that I heard Ben Affleck hangs dong and think nothing of the idiom before continuing on the convo, but one friend, who doesn't watch Sunny, says, "Stop for a second. I noticed you used the term hangs dong, and it's awesome. We pretty much reenacted the scene where Mac introduces the term jabroni to Charlie. Not to mention that hanging dong is very Thundurgan." Literally just ditched a friend in a bush. We had carried him halfway across a gigantic campus and he was belligerent the entire time. So we said enough, tossed him in a bush big enough to hit him, and went on our way. For my bachelorette party, my best friends made us some riot juice which we drank in my apartment's parking lot. After that we headed to a bar where we played flip cup against other bargoers. We wore Hawaiian flower layers so everybody could see we were having a luau. Last stop of the night, we parked in an alley where we downed our beers and smashed it up. My friends are the best. TLDR. Always Sunny themed bachelorette. Flip Philadelphia. When my best friend got a DUI, the gang tailgated in the jail waiting room with wine in a can and held an impromptu intervention upon her release. Way late to the party, but my friend and I just recently conjured this one from the abysses of our blackout memories. I'll set the stage by stating we had been at an Eagles tailgate since the sun touched up with absolutely no intention of going to the game. We had only been there for a friend's day celebrations. Fast forward to noon and at this point we're too wasted to continue the party and decide we need to go home to jam and write tunes. To this day we can't recall our decision making, but we decided that walking 3+ miles from the stadiums to our house near South St. was the best option. Probably so we could finish the nips we had brought. A journey filled with attempts to carry a cool yet particularly normal, in retrospect, boulder home. Surprise, we never did get the boulder home, but we did write some songs that I could only imagine would be on par with Damon had snuffing spray paint been involved. Talking about video games with my friend in gym, I call something autistic, and then an autistic kid behind me says, "Hey, I have autism." I then go on to convince him how there's good autism and bad autism and he has the good kind of autism. A rat walked into the bathroom while I was pooping. When it noticed me, it bolted into the cabinet. I finished up, got up and closed the door to bathroom. It was slightly ajar, and turned to the cabinet. When I opened it up, it bolted. So I took a swing with the first thing that came to hand. It was a bottle of Vim. It exploded all over me and the rat when I made contact. So I'm chasing this rat, covered in Vim. It tried climbing the door jamb, so I punched it in the back. I'm pretty sure it broking its legs. Then I grabbed it, prompting it to bite me. Now we are both leaving blood and Vim everywhere. My roommate asks what the commotion is, and when I tell him, he comes back and hands a hatchet through the door. So when the rat climbs the jamb again, I took a swing and just connect. So it is twitching on the floor, and I start crying and taking swings. My roommate comes in and says, "I'll clean up, you go to work." When I got home, he bought me apple fritters for killing that freaking rat. Back when 102.7 played decent music, they had a beach concert in Asbury Park. You weren't allowed to drink on the beach, but could go up to the bars on the street. My buddy is like, "Come with me." We go and buy a 12-pack and walk around, so we are coming up to the concert from the beach. He shows me how to wait until some idiot with a cooler of beer gets busted, then walk right by with a 12-pack under my shirt. Walk through the crowd selling beers for $4 a piece, $90, and go back to buy another 12. Repeat. A friend of mine was house sitting for this very rich family with very spoiled kids. The kids had a room filled with every Nerf gun you could imagine. I had no idea they got that high tech. Like, There were scopes and crap and they shot really far. He invited me and 2 of our buddies over and we proceeded to drink a 60 of vodka one of them stole from the bar he worked at. Got super drunk. Had an all-out Nerf battle. A group of about 6 of us decided to get really hammered on St. Patrick's Day, so we started taking shots at 9:30 am. Eventually we make it to a bar that has beer pong and after a few games, and drinks of course, we notice one friend is already sleeping at the bar. Myself and another friend drag our sleeping drunk friend back to our room. On our walk back we meet 2 of our other friends. One is covered in blood and black stuff. He apparently tried to climb the roof of the bar but fell, causing him to be covered in his own blood and tar from the ground. After more drinks we all head back to our room. Then the night goes blank. We wake up with one person in the shower, one rolled up like a cocoon in a blanket, one guy is in his boxers with a broken plate covering his junk, one is in a dinosaur onishi, one is weirdly in my bed, and I was in hers. Then we all wake up and it's only 6 PM so we head out to the bar again. 5 of us friends did the Wade Boggs challenge on one of our vacation flights. We even wore white shirts and carried markers to count our drinks consumed, just like how the gang did. Instead of the usual 60 drinks, our goal was to consume 12 beers. Since our flight wasn't very long and because we are only human, I personally did 13 beers. Coincidentally it was on the way to the Live Day Man show, which was their only live show ever, and it was in Philly. Me and my brother got tickets and drove all the way across Philly for the show. It was kinda in the hood. We are always late to places and this particular time we were early. We smoked a joint, and then realized we still had an hour so we figured let's go get a blunt to roll. We walk into this corner shady bar, and everyone turns around and looks at us like we're nuts. It seemed like the music stopped. My brother is 6 feet 10 feet and I'm 6 feet 0 and blonde. We stuck out in an all black bar. I asked my brother if he had money on him and he didn't. A worker asked us what we were there for, and for some strange and odd reason he told them cigarettes. Neither of us ever even smoked one. They pointed us in the direction of the cigarettes, and we literally both turned around and walked out. It looked like we were culture shocked and running away from everyone. We said it was def something Charlie would have done on the show. This actually happened in Philly. One time, my friends and I got real drunk. Me and 3 other dudes. We're walking to the bus stop, late night, when one of the dudes, let's call him Frank, sees a big sign tied to a fence that reads metal only. Our bus is coming soon and it's the last bus, but Frank starts walking away from the stop, toward the sign. Frank, what the frick are you doing? Shouts my other friend. Let's call him Mac. Dude, I want that sign for my room. No dude, come on, the bus is coming. Max slurs. We can get it, I say, walking over to Frank. Our other friend, let's call him Dennis, follows and so does Mac, albeit begrudgingly. So the sign is positioned at the top of a 10-foot high fence, tied with zip ties on all 4 corners. Thankfully, Dennis has a pocket knife and we're all proficient climbers. I take a quick look around for the bus and then begin to examine the fence, so we can cut the ties easily. The real issue is just getting it not to fall onto that side of the fence. If we can cut it so it falls to the bottom, we can probably pull it out, I explain. Dennis nods and reaches up to try and cut the ties but can't reach even the bottom corners. After a few minutes of squabbling and pushing, Mac takes the reins. Frank, the one who wants the sign, is unhelpful. Mac begins climbing the fence and gets to the top. Before he puts his hand through, he pauses. Yo guys, he says, hand poised to grab the sign, the other hand clutching the fence. There's barbed wire. At this point, most people probably would have called it a night, not us. Frick that. Dennis passed up the knife and Max started sawing at the zip ties, working his arm carefully through the barbed wire. After about a minute of this, Max shouts AW frick and the sign clatters to the ground. Max shimmies down the fence. We all stood there, staring at the sign sitting on the other side of the fence. All the work we had done, lost. It was 2 feet on the other side. We'd have to climb over to get it. It seemed we were defeated. Frank and I thought otherwise. In our drunken strength, or perhaps in a moment of adrenaline, we bent down, grabbed the chain link fence and straight up ripped IT out of the ground and twisted the whole freaking structure. It looked like Marilyn Monroe, you know, when her skirt is blown up by the vent. That's what we did to this fence. Mac dived down, grabbed the sign and we ran away triumphant. Mac's arm got shredded though, blood all over the sign. I'm pretty sure it got infected and he never took care of it. I was around 9 or 10 over at a friend's house with a bunch of other guys and my friend had a super hot older sister. So I hatched a plan to get a glimpse of his sister naked by hiding in the shower tub of the bathroom. I pulled the dark blue shower curtain back and provided a space to look through. I waited maybe 10 minutes and someone came in. My friend's obese mother who proceeded to take a monster crap for what seemed like an eternity. She was in for the long haul. She read a paper while doing her thing. The smell was choking me but I had to take it. I curled up in the tub quietly and pulled my shirt over my nose and took the punishment. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.